This episode is brought to you by Farmers Insurance. When was the last time you reviewed your insurance policy? So it's been a while, huh? Well, no worries. My friends at the Austin Brummett Agency would love to hear from you and provide you with some amazing rates. Give them a call at 678-402-8262 or email them at abrummett@farmersagent.com. That's ABRUMIT at farmersagent.com, and tell them Harley sent you. Insiders, Inside the Bubble with Harli G is now sponsored by BetterHelp. As a partner of this episode, listeners can access the BetterHelp link located in the show notes to receive 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help. Go to BetterHelp, that is BetterHelp.com/inside the bubble, the link to get started. You're listening to Inside the Bubble with Harli G, the podcast for the superwoman. Every week, we connect with amazing individuals who share their inspirational experiences and stories while motivating and inspiring purpose. It's time to hang your cape. Grab your coffee, your water, your cocktail, and come on in Inside the Bubble with me, your host, Harli G. Welcome, Insiders. It is I, Harli G, of Inside the Bubble with Harli G, and today I have a very special person, Aisha Derberry. This woman is the queen of diversity, equity, and inclusion. You're talking about somebody that's always out there making sure that people's voices are being heard. This is the woman right here. And she's forever speaking somewhere, talking somewhere. Like, my goals in life are to literally be Aisha DeBerry in the future. So, has her own podcast, Dad-Daughter Dialogues.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Has her own podcast, heads up DEI at work. So she has a 9 to 5, and then she has life.
Yes.
So there's 9 to 5, and then there's life. Right, exactly. I don't know how you do it. I do not know how you do all of this, but I'm really excited to have you on the show today because DEI is what you live, eat, breathe. And first of all, when it comes to high achieving career women, this is the role model. Like, this is the model. Like, it's doing everything at the same time. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that and your journey. How did you even, like, okay, this DEI is going to be the space that I'm going to be in. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to make an impact in the world. Like, how did you find that purpose? Like, what was that like?
Oh my gosh.
I know, I said a whole lot. She was like, where do I start?
Where do I begin? Well, first, thank you for having me on the podcast.
Oh,
I love doing this, and I'm so excited for all the things that are going to come to this wonderful podcast, because people need to hear your voice. Yes. They need to have a moment where they can see themselves in someone else. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited for what's going to come for
Thank you. See? Goals. Just saying. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's interesting. I feel like DEI found me. I didn't find DEI, right? So, I really always use this phrase. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, raised in Jackson, Mississippi. So civil rights was just a part of me. Mm-hmm. And whether I wanted to be a part of it or not, my parents are very much involved in were and also still involved in the civil rights movement and civil rights of others, mm-hmm. In their own places and spaces. But they did well, but I always had this dream to make a lot of money. I was like, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna be rich. I'm just gonna be making it rain.
But you're on your way there, though.
I'm on my way there.
What do you mean? Like you're on your way there. Exactly.
But that was the plan.
And how much is the lotto right now?
I know, right?
I'm going to get my ticket tonight.
A lot. So I'll go get my tickets. But by the time you listen to this, it may have passed. I know. We would have won.
I may be rich by the time you listen to this.
Oh my goodness. Just so y'all know, when Harli and I get together, it's a good time.
It really is. Okay.
But so had this plan to make money, went to college, majored in economics, did a lot of work with the Boston Stock Exchange, and was like, I'm going to be a stockbroker. I'm going to make tons of money. And then, unfortunately, September 11th happened. And if you all recall, those that were around during that time, the plane left from Boston to New York. And so quite a lot of my friends lost loved ones and family members, and we lost some classmates that were on the flight, and it was just, as we all know, just a time.
Yeah.
And so there were no jobs, especially in finance.
Yes.
So I was trying to figure it out. I'll never forget, two of my other girlfriends and myself, we were all in finance or business, and we were sitting in the computer lab. Imagine that they still
computer
lab, because you did not have a computer in your dorm room.
Wow.
Aging myself.
But no, seriously, I understand. I can identify with that.
Right. Yep. We were sitting there, and we were just trying to get our resume together, but thinking like, where are we going to send this resume? What are we going to do? We have 3 or 4 weeks left of school. And for me personally, I had been an orientation leader and a resident assistant. And so my former boss said to me, Aisha, we have this recruitment job, college recruiting. Would you be interested in taking it for a little while until the economy comes back? And I said, absolutely, because it's something I had already done. I like talking to people and all that kind of jazz. So I got this first gig going to high schools in the DMV area and recruiting them to my college, Northeastern. And that's when I had my first experience with inequity. Didn't know the words then, but as I was drawing out my plan, I found myself, I had given this long list of schools I was supposed to go to, mostly private. And so I had gone to Sidwell Friends and all the other schools that, the high dignitaries' children attended. And then I would pass by the public schools, like they weren't on my list.
Yeah.
And I would see that mostly Black and brown kids, of course, were in the public school setting and not in the private school. So I went back to my boss at the time and said, we should probably be recruiting more at the public schools just as much as we are at the private schools. Mind you, I'm in my young 20s at that time, so that was like intimidating to say we're going to change the whole strategy.
Right. Yeah.
But she was cool with it. She was young as well. She said, okay,
why not?
Well, why not? Give it a try.
Great.
Put that on my list. I just started finding high schools, talking to people. Clearly saw the difference. I would go to Sidwell Friends, right? And for a college fair, there would be 50 colleges. Stanford, me, all the Ivies, everything. Then I would go to the area high school, and it would be me, AmeriCorps, Army Navy, and, Job Corps.
Yeah.
And the only difference was me being there. That was the only difference, was that access. I was able to, I said the same speech at public school that I said at Sidwell Friends. And I recognized then just the difference being intentional can make.
Yes.
Because just in that short amount of time I was there, maybe 3 or 4 years, we saw an increase in Black and brown and first generation students. Just because I went there. I didn't know that at the time.
Right.
I wasn't doing the stats.
No.
But I visually saw the change. And so that kind of sparked me with, what else can I do? What else is going on? Where else are there some gaps that need to be filled? Because I grew up in Jackson. So most of my public school was Black. Even the private schools were Black. The mayor was Black. So I didn't have that experience where I felt like there was some kind of inequity going on.
Yes.
Of course, there were other things, but especially in terms of race. So, moved to Atlanta. We won't even tell that story, but there was a cute boy that lived in Boston.
You moved to Atlanta ooh, hot things just come out. Oh my goodness. Oh yes. Okay.
If you listen to this podcast, you know who you are. to get out of the North. I'm a Mississippi girl, so I wanted to be back in the South, but I knew I wasn't ready yet to go back to Mississippi. But anywho, came to Atlanta, didn't have a job, and this new medical school opened in Gwinnett County. And I knew admissions, and so I was like, well, I can do this. So ended up working at that medical school for a couple of years. And because I had that experience in Boston, I did that same strategy for the medical school startup here or in Gwinnett County. And yet again, did those same principles of being intentional, like making sure we went to HBCUs, making sure we went to churches and organizations and identity-focused groups like sororities and fraternities. And that way I was able to bring in a diverse class. And I find myself asking, why does this make me so excited? Like, why do I want to keep doing this? Because this junk is hard. I was about to curse. This junk is hard. But I realized of my DNA.
Yes.
And my father always kind of pushed against the narrative for justice for others, whether he saw it today or in the future. And then my mother has always been that person. You treat everyone the same. No everyone. Because you don't know their experience. Exactly. You don't know why they are the trash collector or the housekeeper. You don't know any of that. Exactly. They're human first. Yeah. And then you go from there. Yeah. And so that was just in me. So I'm like, that's why I enjoy this so much. I also, if you can't see me, but if you're listening, I'm petite, I'm short, I'm a Black woman. And you can imagine what those experiences have been like over, my life. The tall people always get, end up being the popular person.
The can at the top of the cabinet.
There you go. The can at the top of the cabinet. People generally, they say, I think the average president is like 5'9" or 5'10".
That's it?
So, I know, right?
Oh my gosh, okay.
But, I know, right? Yeah. But the taller, the more attractive you are seen. So, all of that. So, I think I've always kind of been a fighter a little bit because I've had to fight myself in a, in a room or in a space because I'm like, they're not gonna talk to me any kind of way. I know I'm short. I know I'm smart. Small, but I'm gonna bring it.
Exactly.
So I think of me and then I see it in others. And so I want to be the voice for.
There's so many things in what you just said that I'm like, ooh, 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 ooh. So we had a DEI manager before you came to get to our place of employment.
Yes.
And exactly. And this was very interesting because just in thinking about people's different experiences. Yeah. So I'm Caribbean. Okay, my culture is from the Caribbeans. And so my parents are Haitian. My mother was the type of person that was like, you do not have an excuse in life. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is, she was like, there is no excuses. I don't believe in excuses. I don't take them. So she's always been like really hard when it came to that. And for example, going to college, she was like, y'all going to college. I have 2 other sisters, so it's 3 girls. She said, y'all going to college, but we broke. Yeah. So we're not paying for it. But y'all going to college. Like, okay. And that was ingrained in my brain that I was going to college. There was no question about it. Right. I didn't even think about the way. I was like, I'm going to college. Right. That's just the way of life.
Yes.
And my parents, my mom is a registered nurse. My dad was a mechanic. So my parents have always worked hard. Yeah. Like always worked hard to put us in a private Catholic school, to put us in the quote unquote good neighborhood. Yeah. To expose us to different cultures. The elementary school that I went to, the Prime Minister of Canada, we went to the same elementary school. He was just 2 years older than I was. Wow. So Justin Trudeau and I went to the same elementary school. That is the elementary school that I went to.
Wow.
So I was one of 4 other people of color in my class. And that was it. Yeah. So growing up, always the minority, always felt like, I'm going to school with senator children and people of a very high tenure. So always felt like I had to prove myself. I'm not as good as they are. I don't have as much money as they are. I am black. My parents aren't even from that country. They're immigrants.
Yes.
So there's that. And then I went to a Catholic school.
Yeah.
So there's that. And so always felt like I did not belong.
Yeah.
Ladies, I know there's so much to do and not enough time in the day. Trust me, I'm right there with you. But what are you doing for yourself? Well, I've recently discovered Body Bar Pilates. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Body Bar Pilates will challenge all of your major muscle groups and provide you with a full body workout. Wow. Listen, I had to check it out. I took a class with Sherelle and it was amazing. They have workouts for all skill levels, whether you're just starting out or you're just looking for a new way to move your body. This is the community for you. Check out my friends at Body Bar Pilates East Cobb or give them a call at 678-941-4371. And don't forget to mention me, Harli G. And when we moved to the United States, we moved to Miami, Florida. So moved to Miami, Florida, and I went to school. I went to public school. So it was my first exposure ever to public school.
Yeah, in Miami.
And it's Miami. Like, what just happened?
Right.
And I don't speak the language. I don't understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So this was my first experience with quote unquote black people. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, my perception was they weren't good enough. They weren't smart enough. They were gangsters. They were all of these things that I feel like, not just the media, but depending on the environment that you grow up with, you've been fed this scenario. You've been fed this narrative, right?
Yes.
And it was just like, it was crazy. And I remember there was a specific moment. This was in high school.
Yeah.
I was in high school and we were in, I think it was like health class or something.
Yeah.
And this guy got up and he did a presentation and it was on the skin. So he was talking about the epidermis and the layers and all that stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
And he sat down and that was the very first time I thought to myself, wow, black people can be smart.
Wow. And
I was in high school. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, what? Mm-hmm. And at that moment, I was like, I'm not saying I knew something was wrong with me, but I consciously was aware of my thought process.
Yes.
I was just like, okay, you shouldn't be thinking that way.
Yeah.
And I think that had a lasting impact on me.
Yeah. And
fast forward to a few years ago, we were having a conversation at work about the different races and how to, there was like a big kind of discussions on what races are we now going to put on documents, right? On legal documents.
Yeah.
Do we still put black and white? Do we put African American? Do we, and we were just going through that. I think maybe we were doing a survey or something.
Okay.
And we needed to list out the different demographics.
Yeah.
And the old DEI manager of DEI was like, African American, and how do you feel when you say it? And I raised my hand and I said, I don't feel like I'm African American, mm-hmm. and I don't feel like I'm Black American, mm-hmm. because for me, there are very apparent culture differences that happened when you are classified in those demographic. Mm-hmm. For me, Caribbean American is a totally different demographic, which is what I consider myself as. Mm-hmm. But and I'm not saying, I'm gonna go out now and tell everybody you need to call me or you need to classify me as Caribbean American, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. But for me, there's a line that determines that for me. Yeah, mm-hmm. I feel like I was brought up a different way. There is, and when you get other Caribbean people, it's bound to get crazy. But right. There is a like culture mindset that is associated with being part of that group.
Yes.
And so It wasn't until very recently, and I think I mentioned this in the first episode, was that I realized I was never meant to fit in.
Yeah.
I finally realized that, you know what? It's actually not a bad thing that you don't fit in.
Right.
You're different for a certain reason.
Absolutely.
And I admire the work that you do, because you tell people day in and day out, your voice deserves to be heard.
Absolutely.
What makes you different is what's amazing about you. And I really admire that, because you are a constant advocate of people.
Yeah, I want to be you. I mean, you touched on so many things there. I mean, I think the beginning part of what you talked about is definitely identity, and how no matter what you think, identity is very important to us. Who we are, where we come from, who our family is, what our last name is, what our primary language is. All of those things are very important to us. And so we have to remember that on all sides, whether you're Black, white, Hispanic, Caribbean, whatever your identity is, recognize that just as important as it is to you, it's going to be important for somebody else, right? I do also think that there is quite a bit of work that we still have to do, even amongst, I identify as Black, that we still have to do within those who identify with the African diaspora. Because I think there has been some structural things in place, systematic things in place to separate us in a negative way, and not be able to glorify our separation in a positive way.
Exactly.
Because it should be great to celebrate that I'm from Barbados, or from Haiti, or Haiti, as you all say, because I'm learning some things.
Yes.
Or, you know, from Cape Verde.
Yes.
Or wherever. And that's important. And also to be able to recognize that I'm still a little bit of you and you're still a little bit of me.
Exactly.
And I can be smart and you can be smart. I don't want to separate myself from you because someone has told me that you're this.
Exactly.
And created a narrative that's not true. Right. Now, sometimes there's always a little bit of truth in some of the stereotypes, right? But overall, they tend not to be true. So I say all that, and I'm going to put that to the side, because we still got to do some work on that. So all y'all out here that identify with the Black diaspora, the African diaspora, do your work.
Do your thing.
Okay, do your thing.
Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Exactly.
Learn about your identity. Learn about some other identities. Because I'll be frank, I remember, I grew up in Jackson, like I said, Black American. Boston was my first experience with so many Caribbean folk.
Listen, Haitians live in Boston.
They live in Boston.
Boston
is Haiti. Boston is Haiti. Okay, for anybody that didn't know, Boston is Haiti.
Oh my gosh!
It was mind blowing for me, Harley. I remember being on the T a couple of times, and I would be in a certain neighborhood or whatever, and most of the Black and brown people did not speak English. Nope. It would be French, Creole, Cape Verde, whatever Cape Verde speaks. I think it's Cape Verde. Spanish.
Yes.
And literally would not speak English, not know how to speak English. And it was so mind-blowing to me. I was like, I just couldn't believe it.
Yep.
Because I just knew one version of Black American. And so to me, that, again, I always attribute your journey. You always learn things to where you are today. There is a purpose. That even added more information to my tool belt. When I'm meeting someone from Haiti, I recognize that we're still sisters.
Yeah, we are.
But we do have different journeys.
Yes.
We have different
experiences.
Experiences, right? So I don't even know where I was going with that, but I got so passionate about that piece. But you're right. For me, it's always been to lift up the voice of who you are, because when you don't know your identity, or if you do know your identity and you're ashamed of it, that really can change the trajectory of your life.
My gosh.
Of your life.
Yes.
I mean, there are people out here, Harley, killing themselves.
Yeah, because they don't know.
Because they don't know who they are. They're too scared to say who they are.
Yeah.
Or they want to fit in.
Yeah.
I mean, especially teens. There are people that are doing things that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
They're doing jobs they don't want to do because they don't believe they deserve enough. They're in spaces and they're not speaking up when their voices should be heard. Like, that's why I get so passionate about it.
Yes.
Because God help me. I hope that God sees that I'm trying to do that work. I want people to feel like they can live with who they are
authentically. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Just be, and we don't get it right. I mean, we all got some stuff in the closet.
Absolutely.
I got some, you got some. We all got some things. But overall, I want you to feel like, and I'm always that person to advocate for you to feel like you can be your authentic self. Yeah.
It wasn't until I got to college.
I know, because you kind of had the reverse.
Yes. So I, grew up kind of in white neighborhoods, went to, schools that were predominantly white. And then I decided I was going to go to HBCU.
Look at you.
I was like, whew, okay. Went to Alabama State University. The Hornets.
Shout out to the Hornets.
Listen, Montgomery, Alabama. Yes. Went to Alabama, and I was like, and then I was surrounded by Black people, and I was just like, okay, this is different, right? Like this is different, but at the core, and this is why core values are so important. At the core, now thinking back, because connection is one of my core values. Yeah. That actually helped me. It helped me because it was like, now I was exposed to what felt like a whole different world, and there were Black people from all over the world there, right? I mean, LA was all over the world for me. But I mean, I met with all different shades of Black or brown. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, you could be looking at somebody that looks absolutely Hispanic, almost white, and they're Black. Yes. And so it wasn't until I got there that I started appreciating my culture and what I brought. Like, until then, I hate to say it, but there was a sense of shame that I was Haitian. Yeah. It was like, when people would mention Haiti, they would think it's a third world country. People are homeless. Yeah. Did you come over to Miami on a banana boat? Like, what happened? I was like, no, we legit drove our minivan 3 days.
Isn't that crazy?
From Montreal all the way to Miami. Like, it took us 3 days. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I was like, no, I did not get on a boat. What is that about? But it wasn't until I got to college that I really started appreciating. And then I also felt like I had to make up, so I started advocating for my culture. I was like, y'all Haitians are the bomb. I was like, have you had some of this food? You have not had some? Let me cook for you.
Love
it. I started taking a sense of pride in my culture, and I was wanting to expose everyone and anyone to it. And because I felt like I refused to let you go on and believe this specific narrative of the Haitian culture or a Haitian person. Yeah. Like, I want to show you there are so many different things in the Haitian culture that you could be exposed to positive things. Yes. Then I found out that the Gancel Beauvais was Haitian. And I was just like, oh! And I held on to that because I was like, look, I need y'all to see we can be famous too. Okay, we can be famous, y'all. We can be famous, but and I don't know if it's a culture thing or whatever, but Haitian parents don't really. They have their way of expressing their pride for their culture. Yes, but I think it's a little bit of a challenge for them to. I'm not saying pass that on, but articulate and show that. Yeah. Like, they live it, like my parents will find some grass herb right out here in the front yard. They will boil it and drink it. Yes. Okay. Like, my parents are just a hot mess. But anyway, exactly. There's an herb for everything. But I think it's a little bit of a challenge because they're so grateful for being here in the United States and for the opportunities. Right. And so they want to pay homage to that. Yes. But they're still very, very, very grateful and in tune with their culture. Yes. So it's trying to find that balance. And I don't know. It's a challenge. Right. It's a challenge. And yeah.
And I think, for me, first of all, I love hearing new stories. Like when you shared about going to the HBCU and then it being like Caribbean pride or Haitian pride. Yes. Like, I love that because it really, people use this diversity term, loosey-goosey and kind of almost make it a cartoon in a way. But it really is like a mixed salad. Like, you're adding all these parts of the salad, like just a plain salad of the same thing. No one wants to eat lettuce every day. Who wants to eat lettuce Monday through Sunday? Right, by itself. No. But when you add the nuts and the cranberries and the cucumbers, it just enhances life so much. But you have to be willing to lean into that and learn more and always be a constant learner. Like, to me, I've just felt like when you're a constant learner, whether you're reading or just having experiences with people, life is just so much more full because life is crazy, y'all. It's already crazy. So lean into stuff like that makes you feel good and can excite you. But it's just interesting when you talk about the Haitian culture and the American culture. It can be both and. First of all, the Haitian culture is American culture, right? So let's just put that.
Okay,
there.
so why do you say that?
So Haiti has contributed a lot to the United States.
Okay. Yes.
A lot.
Yeah.
So there you can be both and. To me, America really is
a mixture of
it all.
Yes. Exactly.
So you can have both and you should celebrate your identity first. Right. And by way of being here in America, that's also a part of your story.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
I think you can do both. You can do both. And I think the younger audience or younger groups are understanding, like, I'm about to really celebrate my pride. Because my parents have kind of been a little, quiet about it. But I'm about to really push this thing forward and educate you on what's happening. And it's been unfortunate, again, systems that teach us about countries in a negative way. Like, it saddens me when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm not going there. I'm not going there."
I mean, they don't even have roads over there.
They don't have roads. They don't. How do you know?
Exactly.
Have you spoken?
Because you're taking whatever the narrative has been fed to you. You're just taking that for what it is. You're like, okay, that's how they say it is. That's how it is.
Right. And that goes to being a constant learner. Yeah. As someone, if you find out, okay, Harli's from Haiti. Harli, tell me a little bit about your country, girl. I was planning on going, or I was thinking about I'm going on a cruise and hit Haiti. Yes. Just want to talk to you. Instead of starting with, Harli, you from Haiti?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I learned about this, that, or third that was negative. Like, how do you think that would make you feel if someone asked you that?
Oh my gosh.
Right? Yes. Think about, again, when you're saying things to someone else, how do you think you would receive it? Take a pause before you say it. And then it'll become practice after that. How would I receive if somebody said to me, which they have said, by the way, someone said to me, do you have paved roads in Mississippi? How would I feel? So if that made me feel that way, why would I dare go to someone else and say, I don't even like saying third world country anymore. Yes. I like saying developing because third world tears it. Yes. It makes it say somewhere is a dominant country. Yeah. And you over here, little peon. Yes. You are X, Y, and Z. Exactly. So words matter. So I always think about that too. Like, what am I saying? How would I want to hear this? I think, and if I don't get it right, apologizing, cleaning it up, and being willing to learn. Always be willing to learn and be a constant learner.
Wow, that is deep. That is deep right there.
Always.
We just went to church. We just went to
Y'all,
church.
Please learn. There's so many people out here taking stuff for the status quo. Yes. And not finding out for themselves.
And I think in like you said, learning can look so different for everyone, right? Yeah. So it's like, yes, I am a reader, but I read romance novels. That's fine. But anyway, but no, I am a reader, but later on in life, now I'm a mother, I have kids. It's a little bit harder for me to read the way I used to read. Like, I used to eat books for breakfast. So now my way of learning is by connecting with people, by learning their stories or hearing their stories. That's how I'm learning. Yes. Oh my gosh. So in your culture, you guys do this. This is awesome. Right. And that's how I am going about learning. It's connecting with people from different backgrounds, from different line of work. Yes. And actually learning what people are passionate about. So before we started the podcast, y'all, Aisha and I probably spent like an hour talking. It was like the pre-podcast stuff.
Yes.
The stuff that
right.
that's inside the bubble. Like inside.
It's
the
really inside.
It's like really inside the bubble. But this is so crazy because, okay, so one of my core values obviously is passion, right? And I was actually listening to a podcast last night. I was telling Aisha about it. Nikki and Moose, and they had David Shands on their podcast. You know what David Shands said about passion? Yes, I'm going to repeat what you said, David Shands. He said, I don't like the word passion. And I think he actually got this from somebody else who told him. And he's repeating what they're saying. He said, I don't like the word passion. I like the word obsessed. I was like, that right there, I held my breath when he said that. And I meant to say breath with an F, not TH. With an F.
She learned that from Alabama. I'm just playing Alabama people. Y'all, I love y'all. I'm a Jackson State. That's why I'm just saying that. I love y'all.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. But that hit me hard.
Yeah.
I was
good.
Like,
that's good.
Man, I thought passion was a good word. But then he said obsessed. So imagine if we were obsessed about growing and learning. Like, okay, yeah, it's great to be passionate. Trust me, I am passionate.
Yes.
But imagine if you were obsessed with it.
Obsessed with it.
Like, you cannot, like, you would be living, eating, breathing this thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I really thought that really got me. That really resonated with me. Yes.
I love it. And the thing is, you know, even as we're talking, and I'm just kind of thinking about, we were talking about learning about different cultures and engaging with different people and, you know, with their different walks of life. Again, I am the queen of both and not either or. And so I love, you know, I use the example that even though you're learning about other cultures and engaging with other people, that doesn't mean that your friend base always should have to look like the UN. So I'm going to put that out there. Because people always come back to me about I have that one friend.
Yes, that gotta represent this.
They gotta represent this, and now I gotta go collect the whole cadre of people that don't look like me. Please don't do that. That's the PSA announcement.
Right.
It is completely okay because we are human and tribal by nature to be with folks that look like us.
Absolutely.
Or identify with us. So celebrate that. That is okay.
Right.
All we're saying is just be open and just learn a little bit more.
Yes.
Especially, and you know, I'll take it back to work for a second. Especially if you're in a leadership position or you're managing people. Because even if you don't know the experience of the people that you're managing, it's always good to have some knowledge base. Because people are going to show up different based on their culture and journey. So I believe if you're truly calling yourself a manager or leader, however, director, that you need to have an inclusivity piece to you.
Yep.
If you don't have that, I'm sorry, just from me, this is one woman and her opinion. I don't find that to be full leadership. So, I just wanted to put that PSA because it was ringing in my head. Like, now you should tell
God
me
puts
to go.
it in your heart. You must, I'm just saying, baby Jesus put a message in your heart. You better say it.
Don't be out here being performative and just grabbing people. Like, calling them up. Don't get on the phone after this podcast. No. You know, and do that. Please. Okay? Let it be organic.
Right.
You do some of the learning on your own.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I also talk about how the sense that the community it's huge for me. So even with launching this podcast, putting this podcast together, I always was like, my support system is my community. It's so crazy because I call my friends the family that I chose. So I have my family that I was born into, and then I have the family that I chose, which are my friends. And so they're my support system. They're my community.
Yeah.
How big or little, in your opinion, does community play into diversity?
Oh gosh, I hope you all already know this answer. Okay, if you don't, listen. No.
Okay.
Community is huge. Community is if you don't have community, you're not going to be able to do DEI work at all. Because community level sets you, community supports you, community lifts you up. Community fights for you. Community advocates for you. You need that community. I take it back to what I know as the civil rights movement. Also freedom schools, which is about a civil rights movement for children, is the community is what affects change. Sometimes as an individual, you can affect change, and I think we're really landing on a world that people feel like I can just do this, and it's all about me, and I'm going to make it happen, and yada, yada. But you really need that community to fully make it happen. That's how change happens, because the mass says, we need this, not just one person. Or one person like myself may need this, but I need to draw on Harli and my other friends to lift me up, to have the strength and the confidence to move forward. So community is so important. Like we cannot do this stuff in silos. We cannot do it on our own. It's tiring if you do it on your own. You lose stamina. You lose energy. You get tired. Motivation. You know, you feel like, what's one person going to do?
Exactly.
How am I going to affect change? But if you have that community around you, that really is the impetus of affecting change.
And it keeps you accountable too. Right?
It keeps you accountable. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. It keeps you accountable.
Yeah.
You know, we have, as you know, a group that gets together and just is our community. To just cry it out, laugh it out, yell it out. But we all hold each other accountable.
Exactly.
For what we say we want to do.
Exactly.
Not we have to do.
No.
We ain't got to do nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? But what we want to do or what we strive to do. And so that's where community comes in. To help you achieve that. Yeah.
So I you know, from the moment I met you, you are a person, I'm like, oh wow, this is her purpose.
Right.
Like this is her purpose. This is what baby Jesus put her on the earth to do.
Not baby Jesus.
Yes, because I always refer to sweet baby Jesus.
Okay, I'm like,
because
Jesus grow up.
Jesus don't need to grow up.
Be a man.
He is. There's a potency in sweet baby Jesus that is so pronounced. In that little, what was 6 pounds, 7 pounds, whatever, however much it was. But anyway, listen. But for me, you know, I look at someone like you and I'm like, there is someone that is walking in their true purpose. Like you could tell when you're in that space, the confidence, the impact, and there's there's something that happens when you walking in that purpose. And you can't possibly imagine yourself doing anything else or going back in that box.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not happening. Right. That is not happening. So what would you say to someone that is looking for that purpose?
Well, that's such a good question. I got it, y'all. You know, I think I heard something from Oprah, who I love. Oprah, you're listening.
Right there, Oprah. Listen, I'm going to interview you. You're going to be sitting on that couch.
Okay, Oprah, come on.
Yes, let's go.
But I'm paraphrasing, but something of the like, when you look over your life, and that could be at 18, 28, 58, beyond, what are some of the things along that path that really brought you passion and purpose or obsession? Now obsession. Yeah. That you have these moments, you can kind of recall it. You have these moments of, man, I really like doing that. Or when this happened, I was so excited. And when you begin to piece those things together, kind of look for the commonality. And for me, that commonality is your purpose. You know, again, I go back. I didn't always know that DEI would be where I landed. That's why I said DEI found me. I didn't find DEI. You know, I gave that example of my parents. And so that has some piece to it when it comes to your purpose. It's just a little bit of that is innate because it gets passed through, in my opinion. I looked at, you know, my college experience when I went and I was like, oh my gosh, all the people on the train are speaking these different languages. I had that moment, and why did I want to learn more? Then my college experience and going forth and being scared and talking about the intention. So these things are adding up, right? Yes. And so I'm trying to see what's the foundation here.
Yeah.
Equity. Equity and speaking up for the cracks in something. Like looking for the cracks, looking for the blind spots, filling those in, and speaking up on that, and being vocal. Either because sometimes that person can't speak up for themselves, right?
Or they don't know how, or whatever.
They don't know how. I remember I was there, so I've had that experience. And I used to ask God, there would be, everything that I've done, Harley, for the most part, has been an uphill freaking battle. Okay? It has never been a straight, like, you would think I would just, when I graduated from college, Dad, I hope you're not listening. When I graduated from college, I had to do 25 extra hours just to graduate on time. God. When I went to law school, I struggled at the end to get through. So there was always, one of my girlfriends said, you kind of remind me of like a mule, like you just keep going.
Keep plowing.
And I was like, God, why do you put me through these? Why can't I just be like my girlfriends or my friends and just get through it and move on? But I recognize I need those experiences to relate. Because pretty much if somebody tells me something, like, girlfriend, let me tell you, I've been through it. Let me tell you, it might not have been the exact situation, but it's been this. And so people make fun of me because they always say, oh, you know, a ton of people or whatever. I've had to rely on so many people.
Oh my God.
Many experiences.
Y'all, if I need an airplane right now, I said, Aisha, I need somebody that has a private airplane. Aisha will be like, oh yeah, I have a person. I was like, how Sway? She knows everybody.
But you know where that came from? All jokes aside, was community. And knowing that I needed something, because I was always struggling. I was always having something. I'm like, I gotta figure this out. Okay, let me find someone. And I kept that relationship. You know, because it ended up blossoming into whatever. So I feel like if people are looking for their purpose, look back. Just look back and look at some flashes in your life. And then try to piece those together. It might not be easy right away.
It takes
but look it over. And then that underlying foundation is your purpose.
Which brings me to my tagline, which is, there's purpose in your story. So whatever your experience is, whatever your story is, one, you're not alone.
That's right.
That is the biggest lie you can tell yourself.
Yes.
Two, there's a purpose in that story. There's a reason why you are going through that experience in that story.
Yes.
Whether it is to help somebody down the line, whether it's to make you, you know, they say what don't kill you makes you stronger.
Right.
Anyway.
It kills you. But
exactly.
But we're here.
Exactly, right? But if it's to make you stronger, or even if you don't see the purpose yourself, there's still a purpose there.
Absolutely.
And for me, that has been what truly has led me to kind of like turn around, to get around the corner, was just like you said, taking all of those memorable experiences, right? Getting to college, HBCU, how do I maneuver through this? I can lean on the fact that I'm a connection person. So now I'm starting to connect with people. Why? Harley's a social butterfly because I really genuinely want to know, how did it get here? How did you get to Alabama State? What brought you here? What's interest? You know, like, what is it? Wanting to know that, like, just having that need to know that. And so really kind of taking that connection piece, the obsession piece.
The obsession.
I'm not gonna say passion. I know he done changed my whole.
That whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
That's good.
Exactly.
I'll add this piece too, because I have a couple of girlfriends that have struggled over the years, including myself, and realizing that your purpose is not exactly your career.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it could be actually totally different.
It could be totally different. And you will find that your purpose is free flowing. So a job that you're looking for, it may not fully align with your purpose, or it may, but don't get confused with like, what I'm physically doing is my purpose.
Should be, yes, exactly.
That's not it.
Yeah.
And so that can sometimes seem confusing, because you're like, wait, but I'm working over here, but it's not aligning with my purpose. Sometimes people just don't know what their purpose is, and they're using that as an excuse.
Exactly.
But just know that once you really fully find your purpose, different jobs and different careers will ebb and flow. Yes. But as long as you know your purpose, you'll know what really aligns with the land.
And the purpose can evolve.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. I feel like, I think I think me, by ignorance, maybe at the beginning I thought my purpose is this and this is it, right? And then started realizing that, my purpose is going to evolve in many different ways.
Yes.
Different avenues. So also understanding that.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you have, like I said, this is the high achieving goals right here. Aisha, you have an ebook. You have a book. It's
Yes.
not an ebook on DEI.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a book on DEI.
Yes.
So I definitely want you to tell people where to find the book.
Perfect.
And then you're working on some undercover projects right now that I'm not even sure I should be calling out. So Mission Impossible. So I don't know if you want to talk about that too. But talk a little bit about the book.
Okay.
Tell us where it came from, and what was the idea behind the book, and what the book accomplishes.
Perfect.
Without giving the book away.
Okay. I know. So there's two things. Definitely, after doing this work for a while, and now considering myself a DEI practitioner.
She is. No, she is.
I realized that I wanted to kind of consult more because people were asking at that time to come and do trainings and things of that nature. And so I found in the beginning of the journey that some people just couldn't afford to have a formal trainer come in. Sometimes I bring in a team, so that can get costly depending on your organization. And then I would just have girlfriends calling me up, like, what do I do in this situation? Or this person said this to me. How do I maneuver, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, let me come up with actually a fabulous team who they know who they are, help me put together this e-workbook first. And this is an easy way. If you go to my website, you can download it. Get basic terminology.
AishaDerberry.com.
AishaDeBerry.com.
There you go.
And you can get just some exercises you can do with a small group. And then, of course, after that, if you feel you need more, you can contact me. So I wanted to do that so people could quickly get something, like if you end up getting thrown on a diversity council all of a sudden because of your being a woman or Hispanic or Latino.
Yes.
This will be a good workbook for you, or it's a refresher for anyone that may have been doing the work. So that's the ebook. I also have a book coming out, just a hard copy that people may want to use for their reading circles or things like that. So that's another thing.
Okay.
And then I have a podcast.
She does.
Not as fabulous as this one, no. Not as fabulous. But
let me try to have a conversation with Matt Daddy on the podcast. That will go. Oh my gosh. We're not doing that. Love you, Daddy.
Right, love you, Daddy. But I have a podcast. Tune in if you'd like to Dad-Daughter Dialogues with an S. And it's really a podcast between my dad and I, clearly, because I really wanted to capture a lot of the stories. I'm trying to, while I recognize my purpose, I want even more information. Again, that constant learning. And I recognize that we are not infinite on this planet. And
so what is something you guys talk about?
Oh my gosh. We talk about politics. We talk about relationships. We talk about mental health. We talk about relationships between parent and child. And now a child being a Gen Xer, no longer a little child. Yeah. We talk about family, extended family. We just go everything. A hodgepodge.
Is there one conversation that you feel like was really difficult?
Yes, mental health for me was a difficult conversation. For many people that don't know, I've always dealt with anxiety. Okay. My dad has been for many years just kind of in the forefront. So I was always pushed to be out there with him on TV or talks and things of that nature. So I appeared extroverted, but I was not. I was very anxious as a child. Okay. Be sweating Harley, just get nervous in social gatherings. And so my learned behavior, very similar to people that learn how not to stutter anymore, is to engage and be with folks. But honey, if I had my ways, probably going back to my old life, I would be an introvert, probably a hermit. And so as I got older, it got worse. As I got into college, and really when I went to law school was like the impetus again. And so I needed to get medication to just navigate and own it. Just own that I have it. That I have anxiety. Yeah. And not downplay it. And so that was a hard conversation with my dad. Wow. Because I felt like, I don't know, that, I was failing him earlier in my life, because there were just times where I just couldn't. I was like, I cannot
Yeah.
go out and do this public
Uh-huh.
I mean, I would cry, So, inadvertently, and God works in amazing ways, my dad ended up sitting on a board for mental health about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really opened his eyes, because I don't know if many people that are listening, but generally in, you know, ethnic families, I don't know if this is for you, but if somebody has some issue with mental health or something, it's just a crazy person. You don't take medicine.
You do not.
You pray.
No. Mm-hmm. You pray about it, and baby Jesus is going to fix it.
You just move on.
Exactly.
You know? Yep. And so many of us are suffering.
Exactly.
Because of that. And, you know, I think my mom recognized it early, and she had the information she had, and so she would, you know, pray about it and all of those things, which kind of worked, but not really, because I needed the medicine. Yeah, because Jesus gave that, but or provided the pharmacist with it. But because my dad was on that mental health, he had a great foundation. So when the conversation came, it was hard, but it was easier because I know he heard. Yeah. So that was one of our highest listening ones on mental health. Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Especially at the time, I always say, especially during the pandemic, where we need to actually be paying more attention to it. We need to be more aware of it, because now people were in their home and they're suffering in silence, and there's nobody to kind of pick up on the warning signs, right? On the red flags. And so, you know, I know this because I've heard, I don't know the statistics specifically, but, you know, everything went up. Mental abuse, physical abuse. Everything went up. Anxiety, mental, all of it. And so I do feel like these are conversations that we should be having constantly, like consistent conversations about that, because it's really important.
Absolutely.
And then my last question is, what culture... Okay, it's a two-part question. Okay. What country have you been to that you are dying to go? That you have not been to. Oh my gosh. Okay. That you have not been to, that you are dying to go. Okay. Okay, so there's that. And then, what culture have you been exposed to that you like the most? Haitian.
Don't try to throw Haitian in there, okay? Just so y'all know in the background, she made sure that she wanted me to say Haitian culture. I love Haitian food. I mean, I love you, Haitian people. It's like
Thank
I
you.
say, okay?
Thank you. Oh!
But look at me.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So, that's a good one. A culture probably that I would want to learn more about would definitely be probably the Zulu tribe. I don't know what country a Zulu tribe sits in. There's several countries in Africa, but
why?
I've always been enamored as a kid. Okay. I think because number one, it started with Z.
Oh.
And my name starts with A.
Oh,
very
that's
basic.
Awesome.
Nothing deep here.
Exactly.
But I just want to see that tribe. I haven't ever experienced in my lifetime being able to see a tribe of people that look like me. And so I would just love to see how that community operates in its natural form. And I'm sure, of course, when I say tribe, you know, I'm not going to a hut somewhere. I mean, I literally just want to see that community and how they operate with each other. One that I really loved and adored, and this is a hard one, but I'm going to go with this one, is the Guatemala people in San Pedro, Guatemala. And
you went recently.
I went recently.
Yes. I remember. Like, what, last month or something?
Yeah. My partner has been going to Guatemala for many, many years, first to learn Spanish. Okay. And he just really became family with them. And it's in a very small village around Lake Atitlan, which is about 3 hours away from Guatemala City. Okay. And many of them still wear the traditional Mayan attire and practice, of course, Mayan traditions and principles. But the love there is just, it's palpable. People they just love each other. They just love you. These folks didn't know me from a can of paint, 3 or 4 years ago. And both my partner and I, Ashley, they just adore us and we just adore them. Yeah. So much so, and this was crazy. But one of the women named their daughter after me because of their love for Ashley. When I say that's crazy, I'm just like, y'all ain't got no kids if y'all knew. Or she knew. But yeah. Just that act is mind blowing to me. Mind blowing. And just to see that love, that always gives me hope.
Yes.
That there are good people in the world.
Absolutely.
Whenever I get, because I'm telling y'all, this DEI journey, I'm laughing over here.
Yeah.
There are days where I'm like, okay, I don't know.
It's not for the faint of heart.
God, is this my purpose? You
right.
Sure? Are you sure? But those moments give me hope.
Right.
And I just spoke on this to some young leaders the other day, that keep hope and love as a foundation. Mm-hmm. When you want to just give up, when you're just looking around and you're like, this is some mess.
Right.
You know, it's coming all different. I got a pandemic. I'm losing a job. I'm gaining a job.
Yeah.
Housing prices, this, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
But don't lose hope and love, because that's what makes life amazing.
Yes.
That's what makes life amazing.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is absolutely amazing. And oh my gosh, we're at the end already. This is crazy. I know.
We can talk forever. You know we can talk forever.
Oh well, you'll be coming back.
Okay, good.
Okay. But insiders, I really hope that you all enjoyed the show today about just talking about Aisha's journey. And Aisha, if people maybe want to reach out to you, get to know a little bit more about DEI, or maybe a way that they can contribute, how do they contact you?
Yes, if you can go to my webpage, AishaDeBerry.com. That's AishaDeberry.com. You can reach me there. Of course, the ebook is there. The new book will be coming up soon. I do speaking engagements, facilitation training, things of that like. So you can just get right on that website and get whatever you need there. So
perfect. Well, insiders, another great episode that I had so much fun recording. Remember, we are dropping new episodes every Monday. We're on the gram.
All right.
So make sure you guys reach out to us, talk to us. And we're also on Facebook, Inside the Bubble HG. And you know, this was just a beautiful way of reminding today that there's purpose in your story. Until next time. I hope you enjoyed our show today. Hit the subscribe button and share. Share this pod with your family, with your friends, with your girlfriends. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Inside the Bubble HG. Keep the conversation going. Drop us a heart emoji. Engage with us. We would love to hear from you. New episodes are dropping every Monday on your podcast streaming platforms. And remember, there's purpose in your story.